Loki.
We've been waiting 2 years for this.
We have been. The first series on Disney, Marvel series on Disney Plus got the second season as well.
Oh, okay.
And we're getting a second season What If by the end of the year. Or
Right.
by the end of winter of this year. I don't know if that means early 2024 or late 2023.
Did it say the end of winter or did they say the end of winter 2023?
They just said sometime winter.
Okay.
So could be next year. But I'm looking forward to What If too. But Loki.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So
First thing I just want to say is like I love how this was literally like the first scene of the episode was literally the next scene from the last scene of the previous season.
in case people are not in the know, what we're doing right now is reviewing the first episode of season 2 of Loki on Disney Plus.
Not sponsored.
But anyway, yes, I like how it started with him just like running away from everyone
In slow motion.
In slow motion, yeah.
Yeah, I love seeing the. I definitely did not guess. My theory was just that, you know, a new Kang variant had already come back and like restarted the TVA and everything. I wasn't expecting it to be the past version of the TVA.
Right. So like the first thing I wrote down was different TVA, different or question mark or different time question mark. And what I thought was maybe it was like a multiverse TVA, but then I was like, no, the TVA exists outside of the like there's not multiple TVAs.
Yeah, and that's what they're saying the whole time is like that shouldn't be possible. Like you shouldn't be able to go back because it's like the TVA is supposed to be a single point in time, so it never has a past, present, or future. It's just always TVA.
You know what that makes me think of?
What?
Have you ever seen the movie Arrival?
Yes, not in a long time though.
Oh, okay. Man,
I've heard
that movie is so good.
Yeah, I've always heard it was a really good movie, and I remember watching it, but I remember nothing about it.
So aliens.
Yeah.
Okay.
That one.
And they so like a whole bunch of these
Battle of New York.
These not the Battle of New York. These like not obelisks, like roundish spaceships land in like all these different parts of the world, and these like kind of squid looking like aliens are behind a glass wall, and
This is the one where they're like trying to translate the language.
yeah, and they try to translate this like language that is, well, first it's like just kind of like groans, but then it's like they start writing and it's like it's like it looks like they're squirting out ink, you know, and everything. So anyway, so big spoilers on Arrival if you've never seen it. But anyway, the reason that it's discovered they came was to give this gift, which some people translated as weapon, and it is this ability to exist in like all times. Maybe not exist in all time, but like be able to access all of the time of your lifetime at once.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the feeling I was getting from this episode was, yeah, but we should pause on that. Maybe go through the episode chronologically. Yeah. But so anyway, he first, then what? He jumps out the window, lands in the like transportation thing. They crash into a thing.
Not as good as CGI as I was hoping for.
That
wasn't
terrible.
It's one of those things where that was the first big CGI moment and it wasn't great. And so I'm just hoping that since they already have all of the Loki magic down, that CGI will be better. So,
well, he crash lands in front of Pillboy. I mean Casey. Who plays Pillboy in The Good Place. That's all I can see when I see.
No, anytime I see him, I just think, what's a fish?
Yeah. Like, and also how unimpressed he was by Infinity Stones. Yeah. He's like, oh yeah, we get a lot of those.
I think Casey's like everyone's favorite character in Loki. He's just like he probably has like 10 minutes of screen time, if that. But he's the best.
He's a great character actor. Yeah. So it's clear, like, nobody recognizes him. And then
Yeah.
he time slips.
Yep. And then he's in the present again. And then Casey's like, what are you doing here?
Yes.
The thing that's really interesting about this, though, and this gives me WandaVision vibes, is that the crack that he left of the thing falling was still there when he came back in time. And so that was interesting because at first I was like, oh, is like he's still affecting things around him as he's time slipping as well? But then I realized it was the future, and so he was the one that actually perpetrated this.
Yeah, so that immediately I was like, okay, cross off different TVA. It was
But like
time.
my first thought was like WandaVision with the helicopter that crashed. That was the drone, and it was like the red.
Yeah.
It was the only thing that was colored in the episode.
Yeah. In the black and white episode.
I don't know why, but it reminded me of that because I think it was like that first little moment of like
a symbolic,
something's like more off than I thought it was in this situation.
like a physical reminder.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah,
And I love later in the episode when Mobius writes skin question mark on the thing, and then he goes to the future, and the thing that he checks to make sure if it's the future or not is the skin.
Question mark. I just have to say, I love the interaction, and I'm jumping a little bit, but the interaction between Mobius and Loki when he's trying to like, does it look bad? Does the time slipping look bad? And he's like, I don't know, how does it feel? He's like, it's okay, you know.
And I always love it. He's like, how would you describe it to the woman in the elevator?
She's just like, but anyway, so
it looks like you were being born and dying at the same time.
Right. So Hunter, B-15, and Mobius go to the war room to talk with...
Oh, yeah, that happens first. I forgot.
Yes. With... oh, crap. Now I can't remember their names. Gable and Vox? Gable and Vox, I think.
don't know. We also got introduced to a new Hunter.
X5? Yeah, where did he come from?
He felt very, like, just slipped in there.
Okay, so I'm not, like, misremembering.
No.
Okay.
He's totally just, like... It seems like they're now introducing different levels of the TVA. Because now that it's not just a, like, this district of the TVA is working on this issue, it's now, like, all of the districts of the TVA are trying to figure out why everything's going into, like, commotion now.
Did you notice that his gloves actually said X5 on them?
I did, yeah.
And his uniform looked a little different than other people's. But
Seems like that one woman that controls X5 and the rest, it's just, like, a hit group. Like, they're, like...
Yeah.
Hitmen through. I mean, I guess they all are through time. They kind of just are hitmen for timelines.
Oh wow, I never thought about it that way, but yes. So they're in the present war room talking about the fact that Hunter B-15 and Mobius had said to stop pruning the timeline, and they're debating whether or not that was the wise move. In the meantime, Loki gets ripped back in and goes to the same room. But in that time, it's He Who Remains, 5 like heads of He Who Remains in the room. And the thing I thought was interesting was the recording. Because he's like, Ravonna Renslayer, you are a marvel. I could not have won this war without you.
Okay. So I literally just before this, I told Shelby, and this might be a newsbreaker for you and anyone else who's listening to this, but in the comics, Ravonna Renslayer and Kang are husband and wife.
Whoa.
They are married.
Okay.
I literally told Shelby this, and right after we heard the recording, and I was like, see? It's going to happen.
That's really interesting to me because in the final episode of season 1...
She walked through the...
Yeah, she just like...
disappeared.
And didn't Miss Minutes before that, didn't Miss Minutes give... She's like, did you get the files I needed? And Miss Minutes like, no, but these are the ones he wants you to see.
Yeah.
Like he thinks will be helpful or whatever. And then we don't see her at all this episode. So I thought that was really interesting. So it was a little interesting little tidbit that they kind of dropped, you know?
Yeah.
And then he's pulled back to the war room in the present. And he's telling them all like, oh, there's 100 of these guys, not 100, but whatever.
Multiverse full of them.
Yeah, like they're coming and this is going to be terrible and it's awful and people pay attention. But because he's like being ripped through time and space, Mobius is like, let's get you taken care of, right? Oh, and the judges decided they agreed to stop pruning the timeline.
I loved that
time being.
woman that seemed like she was like in charge of the meeting. She was awesome.
Yeah, she was super cool.
I don't know like who the actor is, but I like now want to see her in more stuff because she did such a good job.
I feel like I've seen her in other things, but I just couldn't place her. But before, you know what? The thing that I thought was strange before
Doctor Strange.
he's not in this.
Yet.
Before they leave that room, before everyone leaves that room, Hunter 5 goes over to, I think her name is Vox, and she like, they touch foreheads, and she's like, the timekeepers may have been a lie, but like everything else is real. And it just seems like she's like comforting him, and B-15 kind of looks at them like, what's up with that? Like, I'm just really interested in what the heck is going on. He wants to move
up in the ranks quickly, huh?
I was actually seeing it more as like a motherly kind of thing. So I'm curious about that and what they're going to do with that. Like, that feels like they were hinting at some relationship there that we will learn more about.
Yeah.
So anyway, then we get
Ouroboros.
Oh my god. Having Ke Huy Quan in this is like, my Gen X heart is just so happy right now.
What is he in?
He was Data in Goonies.
Oh.
And Short Round in the Indiana Jones movies.
Okay.
And then he like kind of disappeared for a while. And I remember thinking at different times in life, like, whatever happened to him? You know, like, I really liked him. And then, did you ever see Everything Everywhere All at Once?
No.
Oh, you have to watch that. It's another multiversal kind of time thing.
Donuts.
And he is he plays like the most wonderful human being, like amazing. Like, he's so good. I don't know what possessed the Daniels to go pick him and make him part of this, but it was perfect. I can't imagine anybody else playing this role, and it was just so amazing to see him again. And he was interviewed, and he was basically like, as an Asian man, it was hard for me to find work in Hollywood.
Really?
Yeah, and I just think that sucks because he's so talented.
It reminds me of I don't know why, but my first thought was Jackie Chan playing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Was Splinter? No. Yes. I don't remember. I'm not good with names, man.
I thought Splinter is Splinter who's the bad guy?
I don't remember. I'm bad with names. I'm really bad with names. I love Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but all I can remember are the artists' names for the turtles.
I mean, that does kind of sound right. Master Splinter.
I think it is.
Shredder is the...
Yeah, Shredder's the bad guy.
Bad guy. Okay, yeah, so it's Splinter. Sorry, Mike. Your uncle would be so disappointed right now.
He would. I'm not good with any of that stuff, though, so I can't be blamed.
Yeah, it was awesome that he was the voice of that. But yeah, anyway.
Oh yeah, he was the whole interaction with Ouroboros.
Oh, it was so great.
Especially when Loki time slips and he's like, "But that shouldn't be possible." And Mobius is like, "Well, you just saw it happen." And he's like, "Huh? Yeah, I did."
Yeah, but he's like, what did he say? Yeah, I'm having trouble reconciling that. I just love how he says it so matter of factly.
But the like 3 kind of 4-way part conversation with Loki and Ouroboros in the past and Ouroboros and Mobius in the future was like the best interaction.
It was so great. Especially because then he's like, yeah, I'm having trouble reconciling that as the same again. But what I thought was really interesting was the like, oh, you would need what was it called? A time or temporal aura extractor. I think that was what it was.
Yeah, because they're like pulling out of the timeline.
Yeah, and Mobius was like, "Do you have one of those?" And he's like, "No." And then they go back to Loki, and he's like, "You need a temporal aura extractor," and like he makes one.
Yeah, in the like 300 years or something like that.
Right, like and then Loki's just waiting there, and he's like, "Okay, great. Can you hang on to this until my friend Mobius gets here?" And you go to the past, and then he's like, "Wait a minute, I do have one."
Another curious thing about that is Ouroboros remembers that conversation, but everyone else's minds were wiped.
That's okay. So yeah. So it was clear when they went in there, like, so Loki had said to Mobius, like, your memory must, like, because Mobius is like, I don't remember any of this.
People would have remembered Kang's face being everywhere.
Yeah, he's like, well, he wiped your memory, you know? And
more than once.
And then I love that later. He's like, I have no memory of my memory being wiped. But he, when he goes down to see OB, OB's like, Mobius, and Mobius is like, yeah, like trying to fake that he remembers him. And I just think that was like meant to, you know, be another point, like, yeah, you had your memory wiped. But here's the thing I don't understand about the instant conversation. So like when Loki and OB are having a conversation and then Loki gives OB information and then suddenly OB like remembers it in the present, like as it's happening. The thing I don't understand is that when Loki goes in the past, when they come in the present, so much to keep track of, he's like, people call me OB. Then when Loki goes to the past, he's like, Ouroboros, or can I call you OB? And Ouroboros goes, OB, I like that. So how did he remember the OB part?
Because it was Mobius that called him OB in the first place. Remember, he was like, you gave me that nickname, OB. And he's like, you called me OB. When talk about Mobius, when he visited him a few hundred years past.
Oh, okay. So it still would have given him the nickname. So this time travel stuff is so it's warping my brain.
But and then the whole thing about like him coming up with the plan and everything like that, and then going to like that time funnel thing, and then him being like, and there's a chance you might lose all of your skin.
Right.
And he's like talking to Loki about how he'll be like torn apart and stuff in space or whatever.
You have to rip yourself violently from every piece of space and time or something
every
like that.
timeline, yeah. And they were like
arguing over which was worse.
Yeah, and Mobius was like, I'd rather have yours. He's like, at least I'd still have skin. And then the whole time, it's just Mobius returning back to wait, but what if I lose my skin? Like, he's super...
Yeah.
I love how concerned he is about him losing his skin.
Yeah. I think Owen Wilson played that all very well. So,
but then when the moment comes down to it, he actually chooses to possibly lose his skin.
To push, yeah. And that is so. I think one of the beautiful things is how they showed this developing friendship with Mobius and Loki over like the first season. Yeah. And then when it comes back and like, oh, they're relieved to see each other, and
they like actually have kind of a camaraderie partnership.
Yeah, and it's like there's no question that they're in this together. There's no Mobius isn't going, oh, you're gonna screw me over again, Loki. You know what I mean?
All I'm saying is, no one was rooting for Loki and Sylvie, and everyone was rooting for Loki and Mobius to be together. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Whether that happens or not in season 2,
Lobius.
That's up to you. All right, but
Lokius.
All I'm saying is I would not complain if Mobius and Loki decided to be together by the end of the season.
I adore their partnership, and so I love that. Like the solution is for each of them to do something dangerous and trust each other at the same time. So Mobius has to go out into wherever the thing,
the time funnel thing,
and put this extractor in and risk his own life at the same time that Loki has to prune himself. But then of course he gets ripped, right? He gets ripped to the future. TVA.
Still wearing whatever that contraption was that tells him when to prune himself.
Yeah, he still has that contraption. And then we get a glimpse of Sylvie.
Yeah, it was interesting. I think my guess is, since he's in the future, that's going to be like the last episode is going to come back to it. For sure. Like we're going to see from Sylvie's point of view, seeing Loki appear and like looking at the phone ringing. And I thought he was going to pick it up, and I thought it was going to be Jonathan Majors just being like talking to Loki in the future. And that was going to fucking freak me out and everything. And then it showed Sylvie, and I was a little disappointed, to be honest, because I was like really hoping that it was Kang calling him on the phone just to show how much like that you did jack shit. You did not.
Well,
Stop me.
I actually had a Matrix moment where I thought he was gonna like pick up the phone and it was gonna act like a pruner and like he was just gonna like like they did in the Matrix, like they
Yeah.
picked up the phone and like disappeared. But yeah, they now here's my question. So Loki's in the future TVA.
Yes.
He hears
Skin, question mark.
phone ringing, which for some reason makes him pause and move slowly towards it. And then you can see that there's someone trying to like get out of the elevator, and you see that it's Sylvie, and you get like, oh, he must have been kind of like, I think I see Sylvie. But then someone prunes him from behind.
Yeah, I was wondering what that was about too, and I'm guessing it might be Mobius knowing that that's going to be happening.
Oh, so he does it in the future?
Yeah, or it's Loki pruning Loki in the future.
How would that be? Oh, wait.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
Oh my God. I don't. That. Okay.
So there are 3 Lokis in this situation,
Yeah.
2 of which are the same Loki, and one of them is a variant Loki, the Enchantress.
Oh right, yeah. Okay, so
I'm still confused why they called her Sylvie and they didn't call her, oh God, Amora, I think is her name in the comics. Because like if they were gonna,
really?
yeah, in the comics there's the Enchantress, which is just a Asgardian that's just named Amora. Like she's not a variant of Loki or anything like that. But Sylvie is supposed to be MCU's version of the Enchantress, but then I don't understand if they were going to give her a name change, why they didn't just change her name to Amora.
Yeah. So, okay, so I was just looking real quick. Theory 1 is that it was Loki. So, yeah. Anyway, theory 2 is that it was Mobius.
Yeah.
Future Mobius was,
What if it's
determined.
another Sylvie?
This other theory is that it was one of Kang's variants.
See, that was one of my theories too, but that just feels weird.
It does.
Like, they would really have to explain that through the plot why he's
Why he
pruning
would have
him.
done. I feel like it's going to be explained though at some point. It feels like
That's gonna be
way too
explained.
random for them not to come back to
The phone ringing
that.
is going to be explained.
Yeah.
Because I'm guessing all of this was knowing that Loki had to be pruned. And so Sylvie might have been trying to get to him. Himself might have been trying to get to him. Maybe Mobius or Kang was trying to call over the phone to try and get to him.
Oh man. Yeah.
Shenanigans.
So that's a mystery. Mysteries are who pruned Loki, what was with the telephone ringing. Well, and then they left open. So basically saying the time funnel was not designed to handle that many branched timelines.
Yeah. Which
And
makes sense.
And so that was becoming dangerous and unstable. So they had to close the blast doors to the TVA, which is why Mobius only had a set period of time to extract Loki from the timeline.
Yes.
This all sounds ridiculous when you're talking about it outside of the. But
Yeah, it does.
that's where he has to go out into the time funnel to do that. He has to put the extractor in this thing, and they looks like
Shoots like a zip line out.
Yeah, it's so funny. But anyway, and so they have to do this period of time. OB is getting ready to close it, and he's given him a timeline, but then even he kind of pauses. He counts down 5, 4, and then says 3 multiple times because he doesn't want to,
Yeah. Only friends Obi's ever had.
Yes. And so he has to close the blast door so it doesn't affect the TVA, and then figure out how to retrofit it is what he says.
Yeah.
So that was an interesting, like, he kind of, I mean, his whole character so far has been like, I'm just gonna say things. He doesn't like Obi doesn't like overly emotionalize things or whatever. He's just like, this is what it is. Like, this is,
Yeah.
you know, and I loved which reminds me of the conversation when they're kind of trying to explain, it sounds like to explain to the viewer, like why the past conversations can be understood immediately. And like Mobius says something and Obi's like, yeah, I don't see a flaw in that logic at all.
Yeah.
But anyway, like he just is like, well, I have to find it. Like, oh, it's impossible for it to do this. And he's like, well, no, I just have to find a way to retrofit it. And like he says it as if he can do it,
Yeah.
you know, which is, that's interesting to me because if that could happen, then why prune the branches to begin with? You know what I mean? Except for the fact that
I think he said that you could retrofit it to like last longer.
Okay. But also, I think part of the thing was you didn't want all the different Kangs from those timelines.
Yeah.
So basically, kill all the people in those timelines because you don't want the Kang.
I mean, that does show you how powerful Kang is.
I mean, that's true.
If they're willing to do that.
Yeah. So here's one of my questions. He Who Remains is a Kang variant.
Yes.
So is the Kang from Ant-Man a different Kang?
Yep. They're different Kangs.
Okay.
At least that's my assumption, because my assumption is that is now that Kang, or maybe that's the Kang that fell out of the future and then goes back and then becomes leader of the TVA or whatever. All we know is that Kang is born in the 30th century, I think is what he said, 31st century.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That's what it is in the comics. That makes sense. And in the comics, Kang is, so we have the Fantastic Four movie coming up. And I don't remember if it's rumored or if it's confirmed or what, but Kang is Doctor Doom. And also Kang is a future descendant of Reed and Sue Richards.
Oh. Okay.
So whenever the Fantastic Four are fighting Doctor Doom, they're actually fighting a descendant of...
Themselves?
Yes.
That's trippy.
Yeah. And so I wonder what the Fantastic Four movie is also going to have to do with it. And then also, like, has there been any more, like, rumors or anything about if Jonathan Majors is going to continue playing Kang or...
You know what? I can look it up. I mean, so what was he? He was accused of abuse, right?
Assault.
Assault.
I think he assaulted a woman in public, actually.
Oh, in public?
I think so.
I thought it was like a domestic abuse type situation.
I think there have come up reports about previous domestic abuse. Now, there have been multiple things from Disney, which is Disney has previously not kicked people out of projects for stuff. And then there's also been times where they do kick out people for
Like
stuff.
Johnny Depp.
Like Johnny Depp. So now I'm just curious, like, because really Marvel like really kept their fingers crossed for Thanos and everything like that, and like didn't put too much pressure on Thanos being the final villain and everything like that until Infinity War and Endgame. But from the get-go, they made Kang the big bad for this saga.
Yeah. Well, according to what I can see on here is it kind of like is undecided right now, which may be like they want to see how the court case goes.
That makes sense. The thing that I hate is that he is such a good Kang, but he just seems like he's not a good person at all.
That's disappointing. I haven't really looked that much into his life and deeds.
Another interesting thing that might be tied in, but I really just think is a reference, is the Nightmare Department.
Oh, yeah.
Where he's like, now I'll help you burn that one down.
Yeah.
There is a villain called Nightmare that obviously like exists in the dream dimension and will conjure in your nightmares and, you know, try to kill you and stuff. That's fun.
That's a always a nice thing, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know how they would tie that into the TVA and everything, or like why that is, but that might be tied in because we seem to be heading more and more into like the horror side of Marvel, which I love, by the way. Like I've been absolutely loving it. A lot of the horror stuff in Marvel is really fun, especially since they mentioned vampires as well in the first season, that they've pruned vampires and arrested vampires.
Oh, I didn't remember that.
Yeah, he was like, we've arrested Titans, talking about Thanos, and we've arrested vampires. And he said something else. I don't remember what it was. I don't know if it was just another. Oh, I think he might have said gods or something.
You know what? Now, thinking about I remember when was it the first? It had to have been the first episode of Loki season 1. They, he shows up with the Tesseract.
Yeah.
And of course they take that away from him and he tries to steal it back. And then he sees all the Infinity Stones just like
in the desk,
in a drawer, And
is this the greatest power in the
universe? Exactly. And his powers don't work there.
Yep.
And so that is something that was really fascinating to me. Like all these things that are so powerful are rendered useless there.
So and this is how I think they might tie this back as well. It's because, like all throughout Iron Man's journey in the first saga is, something happens. So he retrofits his armor to make that thing not happen again. Like he got electrified. So then his next thing of armor, when Thor struck him with lightning, he was able to take that energy and shoot it back at Thor. Mm-hmm. Or like Rhodey.
He also de-iced, so...
yeah. Rhodey fell to Earth in Civil War. Yeah. And so then Spider-Man's suit had a parachute.
Yeah.
So you could see it was like every single movie you could see that he had done something because something happened in a previous movie.
Yeah.
I feel like this is going to be the other way around, where there's going to be technology that we see that Kang has in the TVA that Reed Richards is going to invent in the Fantastic Four movie.
Oh, interesting.
Because there are now in the comics, there's like prison cells that nullify people's powers. And we already kind of see, we sort of see that with She-Hulk and like the Abomination being in a cell, but that doesn't nullify his powers. It's just strong. Yeah, I feel like we're seeing the opposite thing. I think it's also interesting that like Loki has become like the Iron Man for this saga, where he's the one that's kicking it all off and everything, which has been fun.
Well, I think what's interesting about all the power of the TVA is it further demonstrates Kang's power.
Yeah.
Because he created all of that, right?
Yeah.
I also find the dogma interesting, like, because, Loki goes back to the past and there's Kang.
Everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere. And then at some point it changes, right? The Kangs in the war room get covered up with a portrait of the timekeepers. The Kang statue becomes timekeepers. And he even mentions when they visit him in the Citadel at the end of time, he says, this is where we vary from the dogma, right? So he's confirming that the timekeepers, I mean, we know like they're robots,
Yeah.
But he's like confirming that this was like...
There is a multiversal war.
Right. And that's what's interesting to me is I'm wondering what the precipitating event was for him to come up with the dogma, because the TVA existed with without the timekeepers.
We're going to find this out with Loki constantly going back in the past.
But he was pulled.
Oh, I guess that's true.
Yeah.
I guess they'll still find out because they're going to be investigating everything and such.
Yeah.
Or I wonder if they'll even find a way to purposely go back in time in the TVA. Or maybe Renslayer will get her memory back and so she'll know.
Right.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah. I wonder if there's a way to give people their memories back or whatever.
I mean, I would assume so by the 31st century if you can already take away memories. Or is it just like Men in Black where, boom, it's gone?
Yeah. Did you hang around after the Wait a minute. How does the episode end? Oh, right. Sorry. The Vox and the X5 are like you just see like an army
Yeah.
of, and
Running
they're
into
like
the-
yeah, and they have more than just like their pruner thingies. They're like all
They're super geared up.
yeah, they're super geared up. And B-15's like, all this for Sylvie? And then they're like kind of hinting that maybe there's something else going on.
I wonder if it's Kang's.
Oh boy.
Yeah, you saw how powerful Kang was in Ant-Man and the
Yeah.
Wasp. Well, sort of, until he's beaten by a bunch of ants, which I still disagree with. But I loved that movie until the ending.
I don't even remember the ending.
Ending was an army of ants assaults Kang's fortress, and they basically defeat Kang. And then there was the whole "I'm not a jackass" scene from MODOK.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was all bad. It was all bad.
Yeah. Interesting. So, yeah. So, did you stay after the credits to see the end credit scene?
Yes, I don't remember.
It was Sylvie showing up in Broxton, Oklahoma in
yeah.
1982.
Yeah,
And it
then-
said specifically branched timeline.
She walked into the McDonald's.
Like a McDonald's. I don't know if they said it was a McDonald's, but it looked McDonald's-ish.
I think so because
Yeah, because they said Big Mac.
Yeah, they said Big Mac. They said
That's-
McNuggets.
that's right, they did.
Because they said try our new McNuggets.
Yeah.
But
right.
yeah, they had that whole promotional thing in September where McDonald's was selling like Loki meals and stuff like that. So they've made a deal with McDonald's.
Okay.
Because there was like a Loki sauce and stuff too, which I don't need to be
Loki
eating
sauce?
Loki sauce. So
Okay. Yeah. So, and then, they're like, what do you want to try? And she's like, everything,
I love his reaction. He's like, I don't know how to handle this situation.
So that, that's a very interesting thing to me. I feel like, and I don't remember, this may have been in the trailer.
Him coming up to her working at McDonald's, because I wonder if she has to pay off her debt of trying everything at McDonald's.
Oh, that's in the trailer?
Yeah, in the trailer it shows him on the other side of the counter with Sylvie wearing the whole McDonald's get up in front of a register.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to say, it feels like she would just want to travel around and just see all the things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like she fought to save all of that, and that she would just want to experience.
We see. I'm actually not sure they did fix the time slipping, because there's still time slipping in the trailers that we haven't seen.
Oh, really?
Unless they fixed time slipping in the TVA, but they didn't fix time slipping on the timeline. Because I remember him time slipping in front of the business that Mobius's actual self is working at, selling jet skis in the trailer.
Oh my God. Man, I totally forgot about this trailer. Just like not ringing a
That's
bell.
That's how I knew that he was gonna take the prune stick to the wall to reveal the king, because that was in the trailer too.
Oh, it was? Okay.
Yeah, that's one thing. That's what I always hate, is I always love seeing the trailers, but then I know it's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen.
Like I see something that I recognize, and I'm like, okay,
Well, then
I
I'm
know it's
glad
gonna
I
happen.
forgot it all, because I didn't recognize anything that happened in that episode.
No.
Wow, I just completely forgot that. So anyway, any thoughts on how it will continue from here? What's your impression of the?
Well,
did you like the first episode?
I did like the first episode. It was weird for me because, like, for some reason, I was expecting a slower pilot episode. I don't know why I was. I'm just so used to like each season starting off with like a slow pilot, but I liked that it was like straight off the bat and it didn't miss a beat. It didn't really slow down. It kept going. And Ouroboros made sure of that because he talks so damn fast throughout the whole episode.
Yeah.
And I did really like that. I just think it took me off guard. And so I still am like processing that. So I think I need to like rewatch it with like the mindset of, okay, I know that this is going to be like, this isn't going to slow down at all.
Right.
Because I think a lot of pilot episodes like even if it starts off fast because it's like a sequel or something, it usually slows down partway through and like explains the narrative. But this one was like beat after beat after beat,
Yeah.
which I loved.
Yeah.
Again,
Yeah, I feel like they struck the right pace. And also it even feels like the jokes, like the situation they're in is dire, right? So having too much humor would have been like out of place. But like I felt like it was just the right level of banter between the three of them, really. But between Loki and Mobius, like with the like and also the Mobius was like, well, I know who won, and right after Loki's like, she kicked me through a time door, and Mobius is like, I know who won, and, and he's like, it was a draw, and he's like, what, you both simultaneously kicked each other through time doors? You know, like, so I did love that there was a little moment of Loki being like, nope, still got my pride, you know, and Mobius needling him about it. So
and then there's just the natural humor of the straightforward Ouroboros.
Yes. He was so great. So Rotten Tomatoes gave it an 89% among critics and 94% from audience. So
yeah, pretty good.
I guess we're not alone in our love of this episode.
But as of what I'm like expecting from this episode,
or you mean from the season?
Or the season, yeah. No, what I'm expecting from the episode from here on out. There's nothing else, but we're going to talk about it.
You made all the predictions. You can prove it.
Yes. But obviously we haven't seen Victor Timely yet. So we still have to see them go to the past.
Victor Timely, a King variant.
Yeah. And he's doing like some kind of experiments and stuff. And so I've got a feeling this is a variant and not the one on the main timeline. And then I wonder if we're going to meet a Kang variant that has the last name Richards.
Oh, interesting.
Because a lot of people are also waiting for the Marvels to have a reference to the Fantastic Four.
Oh.
Because since the Fantastic Four got their powers in space as astronauts. Oh. And so a lot of people are waiting for them to be like saber scientists or something like that.
Okay.
And so I'm like waiting for all these little Fantastic Four hints to kind of pop in because this saga really needs to stop keeping everything separate from each other, like they have been, because nothing has really been referring to each other, which I think is the main reason why a lot of people don't like it as much as the original saga. And so I think we need more of that. And I think the catalyst maybe catalyst isn't the right word, but I think the way to do that is through the Fantastic Four.
Interesting.
So even though it might not happen, I'm really hoping that there is a reference. But then we're going to see, it seems like a lot of the origins of some of the variants. Like I wonder if we're going to see Casey's origin. We're obviously going to see Mobius's origin. We might see B-15's origin, maybe even X5 and the Vox person.
Yeah, I was curious about Casey, if they would integrate more of his story, but
it would be funny if he worked as a fisherman or something and he didn't know what a fish was.
What's a fish? You know, I definitely feel like we'll get Renslayer's story, you know.
Yeah.
So
I feel like I also almost want like a what if series that was like a prequel series of things that started to happen, but then the TVA came in and stopped it.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And then seeing like the progression of the TVA and so like make a TVA TV show that's like a prequel to the What If series. I would like that.
Yeah. That's so interesting. And we haven't even begun to talk about how it all relates to the movies and like, because I'm assuming the time that Sylvie kills He Who Remains coincides with Doctor Strange's spell.
Yeah.
In Spider-Man.
Yeah, and I also wonder because they're trying to deal with incursions, which are multiple timelines colliding and like causing the destruction of both timelines, which feels weird because like in the comics they keep timelines and they keep basically it's like every single universe has its own timeline. It's not that it's one timeline and they're branching.
So the branching timelines are not like
No.
multiverse. Okay.
It's actually a very confusing
It is very
multiverse
confusing, yeah.
concept that isn't like really in anything else. Like this is a pretty original idea for a multiverse concept, at least from what I know.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of hard to make some stuff out of that. So like incursions are a little bit harder for me to piece together in my mind because like the timelines are already kind of like intertwining with each other and everything. But in the comics, it's like all of the universes have their own separate timelines. And so those two universes are like colliding with each other, basically.
That's the incursion.
That's what an incursion is.
Okay.
And so like in the comics, the first incursion, which was a huge storyline, obviously, destroyed Miles Morales' universe. Where he becomes Spider-Man. And so then he's Spider-Man in the 616 universe for a while.
Oh, okay.
So I wonder what heroes we're going to have come from the other timeline into.
Yeah.
Because that might be where the Fantastic Four come from, is from another universe to our own, if maybe that's the case.
Yeah, but they already killed Jim.
But but I do want to see some kind of Doctor Strange reference or Loki meeting Doctor Strange or something like that.
I've been falling for 30 minutes.
But as he's trying to stop this incursion, but I don't know. I don't know what.
There's so many ways this could go, and it's going to be no matter what, it's going to be very interesting. I think Loki is one of I think it's the most well done of the Marvel series.
I'm also
I think Moon Knight is, I like Moon Knight too.
Yeah, Moon Knight's really good. Didn't have the same budget though, so the CGI wasn't great, but the story was good.
I think I'm way less critical about CGI than you are.
Well, I mean, I just have a certain expectation at this point from Marvel because, I mean, Avengers 2012, off of the budget that they had insanely good CGI.
Yeah, that's true.
And so a lot of it's just because Disney's been like rushing production of stuff and giving stuff really small budgets when it deserves more.
Yeah.
Which is why She-Hulk also looked so bad CGI wise. But anyways, I forgot what I was saying.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I remember.
Good job.
At some point, the sequel is going to have to tie into Deadpool as well, because Deadpool 3 has like Mobius and Loki as part of the cast.
Oh, wow. Dang.
And
that's a lot to keep track of.
Yeah. But they could just have a small cameo as well.
That's true.
It could be something super small. And so we could also have a cameo of Deadpool in this season of Loki.
That'd be kind of awesome.
Or Wolverine.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It would be really cool to see like them standing in some kind of astronomy tower of sorts where they're able to see into a bunch of different timelines and stuff. And you still haven't seen Across the Spider-Verse, have you?
No.
Damn you. Well, there is a point where they see into the lives of a bunch of different Spider-Men and stuff like that. Right?
Okay.
And so it would be awesome if we had that same sort of thing where it's looking into a bunch of different timelines. And we literally see maybe some like videos from like the Fox universe of X-Men, or the like even some really older stuff like the old Blade movies or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Kind of like appearing in this kaleidoscope of timelines. I would love to see that, but then also hint at some new stuff, like maybe seeing Deadpool and Wolverine, or maybe seeing like Mahershala Ali as Blade, or even seeing some characters that haven't even been announced yet, which would be really awesome, but I doubt that's going to happen.
It'd be interesting.
I keep hoping that whatever the new thing that's coming out from Marvel is finally going to tie stuff together and like have some cool cameos, and then it doesn't, and it makes me sad. But Loki is different.
And then it doesn't, and it makes me sad.
Yes. But Loki has stood out at the beginning, and so I'm hoping it stands out now, and I hope it ties in more stuff. That's really what I'm looking for the rest of the season.
Well, whatever it is, I think it's going to be an amazing ride, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yes. But speaking of time.
Yeah. Well.
See you in the next timeline. I don't know.
I know. I feel like we need a Loki version of our Welp.
I know. Like, should we just have like Miss Minutes close us out or something?
Yes.